The big story is back with a clarification from the Justice Department. The DOJ says it did not and cannot authorize former Public Works Secretary Manny Bonoan's travel back to the United States. Recall that a precautionary hold departure order was issued by the Manila Regional Trial Court against Bonoan and others over the flood control scandal. Under a less stricter immigration lookout bulletin order.
And to allow or not to allow, because travel is basically a personal liberty, di ba? Karapatan ng bawat Pilipino bumiyahe. Unless merong court process or may court order na nagbabawal sa'yo. Based on what I got, the information I got, meron ng precautionary hold departure order si Secretary Bonoan. So with that, any permit or any allowance for you to travel, kailangan na ng court order. Ang Department of Justice, we do not allow you or grant you the right to travel. Yung isinulat niya sa amin, nagsabi siya na ta-travel siya. 'Di ba? So it's not true that we allowed, no? In fact, ngayon kailangan niya magpaalam sa korte. Hiningi namin yung itinerary niya, saan siya pupunta. And of course, nagkaroon ng konting issue doon kasi hindi naman siya bumalik doon sa original date. Again, another move ng prosecutor, the state, really here is baka flight risk kasi yung ibang respondent. Kaya humihingi ng precautionary hold departure order. Na yun naman yung binigay ng korte.
Now, to get more clarification on this and other issues, we're bringing in Atty. Polo Martinez, spokesperson for the Justice Department. Welcome back to the big story, Atty. Martinez.
Good evening, Ms. Tess. Good evening, Sean, Howie. Thank you for having me.
Let's begin with, can you distinguish the difference between a precautionary HDO and an HDO?
Okay, so it's all about the timing. When is it actually filed? So a precautionary hold departure order, so by the term of precautionary, meaning na before the complaint is lodged with the courts, before trial has commenced, specifically during the conduct of preliminary investigation for the DOJ, dun siya ina-apply. So that's where we, just as a precaution, in anticipation of the fact that these respondents or individuals may evade prosecution, yung tinatawag nating flight risk. So it's all about when exactly you file it. A hold departure order, on the other hand, is filed during the conduct of the proceedings before the courts. So doon na yun mismo as to the effect, they're pretty much the same.
All right. And what made Bonoan understand that he had been already given permission by the DOJ?
Well, Ms. Cess, I'd like to clarify. Permission to travel is not something that the DOJ can give. Kasi we are not, again, just to echo Secretary Vida, the right to travel is constitutional. That goes into the personal liberty of a person. It's a constitutional right, and as we know, only the courts have the power to adjudicate or control rights. And so far as the DOJ is concerned, any permission that he may have requested with the DOJ was simply a gesture of perhaps his good faith. But at the end of the day, because of the precautionary hold departure order, it's really the courts now who have control over whatever right he has to travel.
So what former Secretary Bonoan said was because he misunderstood it?
Well, you could perhaps, that's a I think an accurate way to put it. What the prosecutor handling the case did tell us is that former Secretary Bonoan filed a manifestation before them, asking for an earlier date to file his counter affidavit. So he wanted to file earlier, on the ground that he was going to visit his wife in the United States. Now, whether or not, irrespective of the reason, the prosecutors would have granted him exercise leniency in granting him that earlier date to file. But again, the right to travel is constitutional. It's not for the DOJ to control or to dictate upon, no?
So,
All right.
Attorney, my understanding is a precautionary whole departure order. That is kumbaga, nabibigay ito ng regional trial court upon the request of the DOJ, tama ba? And also, it can be lifted temporarily by that same RTC, but it has to be the court that you ask, and it has to be them that actually makes the decision to lift it.
Very correct. It's an accurate way to describe it. Just to explain the process of how the PHDO is applied for, it begins upon the filing of a motion by the complainant. In this case, it's the NBI. Sila nag-file ng complaint before the DOJ for these cases, or for this plunder case specifically. So upon filing of the motion, alleging that these respondents may be flight risks, the DOJ prosecutor then, in charge of conducting the preliminary investigation, files the proper application with the court, that being, in this case, RTC Manila, requesting for the issuance of the precautionary whole departure order on the ground that there is the law says, the wording of the law says that there is a high probability that the respondent may evade arrest or prosecution. So flight risk.
And how does the court attorney determine if an individual is a flight risk?
That's upon the court's own assessment, no? Based on the quantum of proof of probable cause. So the court assesses the evidence submitted before it, looks into the facts and circumstances surrounding the particular individual subject of the application.
Would you say is it because they have the resources, they have the power to evade arrest?
That's a possible reason, no? And only the court could really say. Sabi namin is that we do know back then that former Secretary Bonoan requested or advised the DOJ that he would be leaving for the States to attend to his wife's medical procedure. He, as his gesture of good faith, he provided us a date na babalik siya. We do know though that he did not return on that date exact. Parang araw after siya bumalik. So just to avoid a similar situation from happening, we granted the motion by the NBI to apply for the PHDO.
And it's the respondent's responsibility to find out whether they have a precautionary HDO, or how are they informed that there is one?
So normally, they're not really notified of it. I think the difference between the application for a precautionary whole departure order, and one thing that I was able to mention earlier, with respect to the proceedings for a whole departure order, is that since it's precautionary, it's done ex parte. What does ex parte mean? Ex parte is that the court will only hear the side of the person filing the application or petition.
Okay.
So normally kasi pag court proceeding, 'di ba, pag file ng complaint ng isang complainant or petitioner, you necessarily have to furnish the respondents of the same petition.
Ito
Pag ex
hindi.
parte, no need. There's no need. You just file the petition. Court will hear the evidence of the petitioner or complainant alone and then determine whether or not probable cause exists to issue the same PHDO.
So that's not a violation of their right.
It's not, no.
I know where I just want to ask, it's on another issue. Was atong ang also the subject of a precautionary HDO?
As far as I know, he was not.
That is
although
strange. That is strange to me.
Although a motion was filed, that I can say kasi
Hindi ginrant ng court.
Well, perhaps hindi nag-grant ng court agad. Maybe the evidence was not sufficient yet for them to apply for the PHDO. Only the prosecutors in charge of that case could really tell. But what we could say is, as standard protocol, malamang they did file a motion, the complainant in that case now referring to,
But
and
is
that
it
the
also-
application was filed.
Sorry. May you...
Can you repeat the last sentence, Attorney?
Sorry. So I was saying that as a matter of standard procedure, the application is in fact filed in these cases when they see that there is a flight risk no, sa mga respondents na to. As to whether or not the court, as to why the court did not grant it in time, or as to whether or not the application was filed in due time. Again, I'm not certain at what stage the petition or the application is currently sitting. But it will go into the evidence perhaps na baka at that point in time, hindi pa sapat yung evidence for them to be able to allege that probable cause does exist that this person is a flight risk.
So is it possible na actually may PHDO na siya and we just don't know? Because like you said, it's possible na magkakaalaman na lang sa airport because you don't really get a letter or a call that, oh, by the way, you have a PHDO against you.
But it's announced to the public, isn't it? No. No, also.
Hindi kailangan i-announce it. That's the
Okay.
thing.
And then what's the procedure? I wanted to, okay, if the court grants it, it immediately alerts the Bureau of Immigration.
That's correct. Yes, no, that's correct.
Okay, so Attorney, this precautionary whole departure order also covers former DPWH officials Roberto Bernardo, Henry Alcantara, and Gerard Opulencia, but we know that they've already been named as state witnesses. So do you mean there's reason to believe that they could still flee from the charges they're facing?
The court's assessment is that there is probable cause, that they may, high probability, no probable cause that there is high probability of them leaving. So I guess it's safe to say that the court really did deem them a flight risk, that they could still leave. I think mas material pa ngayon yung PHDO because in the event that we would need them to testify before the individuals that are wrapped up in these cases, then at least now it has more compelling force because of the PHDO.
But if they're state witnesses, they're already accepted as state witnesses, and then you put the PHDO, which means you're not really sure of their willingness to cooperate, or is it just like a plan B in case something goes wrong? I mean, forgive me, attorney, but it sounds a little bit contradictory.
No. Ito kasi yan. So let's say you're a state witness. What does that mean? It means that you executed a memorandum of agreement, which is a contract essentially with the WPP, the Witness Protection Program. The contract says that you have commitments that you have to fulfill for the state. You agreed to do these in exchange for being made a state witness. But at the end of the day, like any other contract, no, Sean, anyone could renege on it. It's your lease contract with your lessor. You could renege on it. Your contract with the buyer or seller of a product, he or she could renege on it. So I guess what this PHDO just ensures that, despite the freedom of abode that you currently have, the personal liberty for you to travel. Again, the right to travel is sacred, constitutional yan. The court itself that says or ordered na flight risk ka. Okay? I know you have the right to travel. I know there's a possibility for you to renege on your obligations, but here is an order saying that you cannot leave the country unless you get our permission first.
Now let's move on, attorney, to the preliminary investigation of senators implicated in the flood control scandal. What's the update on that?
Okay, so let's just backtrack a bit. We know that the filing of the flood control cases came in 3 batches. So the first batch, 5 cases in the first batch, all concerned a certain contractor, that being Sims Construction and Trading. Okay, Sally Santos, who is also a state witness. So out of the 5, 2 have been referred to the ombudsman. One of those 2 was already filed with the Sandigan Bayan, and that's the same case involving former Senator Bong Revilla.
Right.
So that's a malversation case. The other 2 have been resolved for release, meaning na submitted for resolution. The resolution shall be issued soon. It's just being finalized. So that's the first batch. Second batch of cases, referred to either of 2 contractors. It's Wawaw Construction or Top Notch Catalyst Builders. Again, the main charge in these cases is malversation through falsification by a public officer. Included in those charges would be direct bribery, indirect bribery. There's a light offense of perjury. And these 6 cases are all, as of February 1, 2026, have also been submitted for resolution. Meaning, pag submitted for resolution, lahat ng ebidensya ng complainant and respondent have been submitted. There's nothing more to submit. What's left to do is for the prosecutors to read the evidence, assess it, and see if there is prima facie evidence to file the case in court. Now, dun sa 6 na yon, so half, no? Half of those cases actually involve Senator Joel Villanueva. So those are all submitted for resolution too.
Okay.
And then the third batch, yun yung mga high-profile cases na sinasabi natin. Yun yung mga plunder, among other charges. So that involves 3 high-profile personalities, Senator Jinggoy, Senator Bong, and former Representative Zaldico. As far as I know, these are all, the Zaldico case has been submitted for resolution. Yung kay Senator Jinggoy, well, that's the same case wherein the PHDO was issued sa third batch na yon, sa case na isa doon. And all his correspondents were also affected by this PHDO. So, and we're expecting na more cases to come to be filed by the NBI. And I think one thing that I need to clarify procedurally is because these cases are cognizable by the Sandigan Bayan, under the law, we have to refer these to the ombudsman who has final say kung tatanggapin nila yung recommendation namin or not. So, in fact, pag-refer namin or transmit ng resolutions namin to the ombudsman, it has to make its own independent review resolution kung tama pa sinabi namin, if they agree with us, and then they file it to Sandigan Bayan.
Okay. So the timeline, we're talking weeks.
Yes, for the cases submitted for resolution.
Yeah. Or days.
Yes, under Department Circular number 15 by the DOJ, we have 60 days. 60 days here to resolve it from the time that it was filed before us. So, and one thing we have to note is these cases were not all filed simultaneously. Again, it came in 3 batches. And even the cases per batch, they were not filed at the same time. So they're all progressing, ongoing in various different timelines. And iba doon may pending incident. So, but again, I think what we could say is we have 60 days to resolve it from the time of filing, extendable by another 30, so 90 days in total.
Malapit na, in other words. Thank you for talking to us, DOJ spokesperson, Attorney Polo Martinez.
Thank you.